How you all doing?
Good. We are live. We are live. I am so excited that you guys are here with me tonight. Is that corny? Like all day I had like this excitement, like I can't wait for this to happen, to be with my friends to talk about this important conversation. I am super pumped. We are gonna wait as people are jumping on tonight. Ricardo, how's it been going? You're growing that beard.
Yeah, it's
Is that
changing
part of
up a
your
little
workout
bit.
regimen?
I like it. I like it. Don't be hating. Don't be hating on the beard. You know.
It looking
Sherry, how are you doing? Rachel, how are you?
Doing fabulous. Just doing great.
Yeah,
I am loving life. It is a lot of fun.
That's right.
Excellent.
I can tell. I can see that. I'm so excited. If you are watching tonight we are talking about loving life and loving ministry. I want you to know today that God calls each and every one of us to be whole and lacking no good thing. And I want to tell you guys, I think this conversation is so important. You know, I was with Yancey just the other day. Her family was in town and we were hanging out. Her son plays hockey. So Guy and I and our kids, we got to get all the kids together and go to this hockey game. But we were talking about just this spirit of weariness in children's ministry, and I know that this is such an important conversation to have with mental health illness on the rise and all manner of anxiety and depression that's happening. I was actually listening to a podcast, you guys, this morning, and it talked about a new study from Barna that just came out that said 38% of people are leaving. They are deciding to actively leave full-time ministry. They are falling out of love with ministry. And this is why this is so important. And it also asks questions about our own lives. God doesn't just want us to love ministry, He wants us to love our life outside of the four walls of the spaces that we are in. So, you know, when we were coming up with this conversation, I can't imagine three more amazing people to have on here this evening. This evening, we have Sherry Chester. If you don't know Sherry, you probably live under a rock. That's okay. We forgive you tonight. She is the author of Viction. How often do you hear this, Sherry? Where vision and action collide. And of course, we have the amazing Ricardo Miller, the author of Effective Living. From Effective Living, we have Rachel Price, and we are still waiting for her to publish a book. Rachel, I know
It's coming soon. It's very soon. It's almost done.
it's soon. It is dropping
Yes.
soon. But more importantly, I know that this panel of just dynamic speakers and leaders are going to pour so much wisdom out on you tonight. But more importantly than all of that, and authors and speakers and all of that, I am telling you, these three have walked out life and living life, even in the midst of challenges, and living life more abundantly. So this is why I wanted them on here tonight to share with you. Check this out as we are having this important conversation. I don't want you to be quiet. This is not all right, I have to listen to them. I have to be quiet and just take it in and take notes. Write in the chat box. Write what you're struggling with right now. If you are not in love with your life, if you're not content, if you are dissatisfied with your ministry as we are going through this, please write that in the chat. We're gonna be in the chat box as well tonight. But as we get started, hey, I want you guys to go around, give a quick introduction of if someone's watching or if someone's watching this later who maybe they don't know who you are. Just let them know real quick who you are. Rachel, I'm gonna start with you. Sherry, I'm gonna go to you, and then Ricardo, I'm gonna go to you.
Well, hi guys. Esther, thank you so much. I love getting to join you for these conversations. It's always so much fun. I feel like I probably get ministered to more than anybody. Like I just sit here and just soak up hearing what the others have to say, and it's just so incredible. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. This is so much fun. So I'm Rachel Price, and I've been in ministry for over 10 years. I was a children's pastor for a long time. And now I just help partner with other children's ministry leaders. And I love getting to help equip and empower other leaders to continue to fulfill the calling God has placed on their lives. And just like we're talking about tonight, to see how you can truly love life and love ministry and excel in both and walk in favor in both. And I'm just so excited to get to help other people and come alongside them for that very purpose.
I love it. Sherry, tell us who you are.
Sherry Chester, background in administration, women's ministry, children's ministry. It seems like this new season of life still involves all of that in some really fun ways, but really more targeted at women, helping women win in life. And then God has just been swinging doors wide open to work with a lot of 501c3 ministries. And I find that my heart is really there because it makes a difference in how they approach things. And so with a background that ties in both ministry and the workplace, it's a way to help give people a step up.
Yeah. And Sherry, you carry each and every season with so much grace. And I love watching in the background. Ricardo, who are you, man?
Well, thank you, Esther, for having me to be a part of this conversation as well. I'm Ricardo Malone, the guy with the accent. Just outright changed my look with my beard that I'm rocking. I'm totally loving in this season, but I'm originally from the Bahamas, but I live in Dallas, been a 24-year veteran children's ministry leader. I love ministry and I love life, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. Okay, Ricardo told us where he's from. Put in the chat box where you are from. I want to know where you guys are coming from. We get people all across, not just the country, really the globe, who come to be a part of these amazing dynamic conversations that we have with these wonderful leaders. So we want to know where you are from this evening. I already saw a Bahamas shout out already in the chat box, but we are so glad that you are here. Arkansas is here tonight. California is here tonight. North Carolina is here tonight. We are so glad to Vegas is here tonight. We are so glad to have you here joining us. So we are going to jump right into this conversation because we are talking about loving life and loving ministry. I want to ask you guys a question on what you have seen personally, and just to really start off our conversation, what have you seen personally? What have you witnessed in terms of burnout and dissatisfaction in this post-pandemic season that we're living in? And even as we're talking about this, what have you noticed as you're watching tonight? What have you noticed, or how have you witnessed, or how have you personally experienced some type of dissatisfaction in this season? Go ahead and put that in the chat box. But Rachel, I'm going to start with you. If you can kick us off on that, what have you observed or seen?
I think, and we actually talked about this a little bit, Sherry, right before this too, is I'm seeing not just even in ministry, just people in general, just everybody is just really having a hard time. It's been a long couple of years. Is it just me, or does it feel like it's still 2020, right? Like it feels like we're just stuck. And so even coming out of it, trying to get back to a normal, any sense of normal, has just been really hard for so many people. And so I feel like there has been just kind of a dreariness, and it's been such a long time for so many people, and so many people got hurt. And I feel like something God really ministered to me even recently for my own life personally that really hit home was, we go through these seasons of hurt, and there's always a time for hurt and mourning and grieving through that. But then there has to be a point where it comes to we let go of that hurt also, right? There's a point when it shifts from the hurt is holding on to us to we're holding on to the hurt. Yeah. And I know in my own life, I experienced some burnout and hurt in ministry, and I just continued to hold on to that hurt to the point that I was letting it have a power and authority over me that it shouldn't have had. Yeah. And so the longer I held on to it, it's almost like monkey bars, right? Like the longer you hold on to it, the weaker you get. And if you want to move forward, you got to get that momentum going, but you have to be willing to let go to reach for the next best thing. Yeah. And like there's that next best thing right there, but we have to be willing to let go of that season of hurt to be able to reach forward to that next best thing that God has for us.
Amen to that. Sherry, chime in on this. What
Okay,
what have you seen?
yes, burnout and dissatisfaction, they're couplets. They go together, and typically it happens when we are doing too much, or we're doing too much of the wrong thing, or maybe we are doing some of the right things, but we're doing them in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when discontentment abounds, it's because we have broken a boundary, a principle that God has set in our lives, and one that we should have set for ourselves, but we have a tendency to either put others first, ministry first, family first. And so burnout happens when we don't have life in order. And I think we have seen that just come to a great climax, starting with the pandemic, but even as people are trying to enter back into what they think is normal, mid-pandemic, post-pandemic, it's a matter of saying some of this just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so people are really trying to figure out how to cut out the fluff and fill. And then when they find out the very thing they thought was their purpose is no longer working for them in a very wise, well, effective way, which is so much, Ricardo, there's your lead in, effective way. Then it's time to stop and take stock. But we've gone so fast that we don't even hardly know how to stop. But it's past time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Sherry. I love what they're saying. Ricardo, I want you to chime in on this. I love what they're saying in the chat box. We have no accountability. That's an issue that we're noticing. I love this one too, with children being schooled from home for so long, and now that things are opening back up, I'm seeing kids having trouble focusing on learning now that they are back in kid-filled rooms. This is a known fact. If you follow education, this is a known fact that teachers are going through, and we're really seeing how that is crossing over into children's ministry. It's burning out the teachers and the leaders on the back end trying to keep up. Ricardo, what are you noticing? What are you seeing in terms of dissatisfaction and burnout in this season?
I think after 2020, one of the things I noticed a lot was that people realized that the thing that they loved was the thing that was killing them. And the things that really mattered wasn't getting the priority or any attention at all. And the level of dissatisfaction to now bring about a balance and a well-constructed view now is at the forefront. It's like, even though you're a children's minister, you may still be struggling with the fact that now I had to stay home 30 days with my family, and I don't really like my family. I like being around the church. I'm called to be in my house and work virtually with parents who have to connect with the kids, but I don't really like the parents. I like the kids, and the kids don't know how to connect with me from a virtual experience. But I'm having to be in this house. I don't even like this house. I don't like this neighborhood, and I can't believe my husband is still in the front there and he's not going to come and help me because I'm trying to figure out this virtual thing. And so the thing that I love, I'm trying to force fit to work for me in this new season. But all of the things that really matter should be getting my attention right now. And I don't have the time to give it my attention because I never built it to give it the attention. And so I have time to exercise, but I don't know how to do that. I have time to spend with my kids, but I don't really want to do that. I have time to spend with my spouse, but why would I want to do that? And, I mean, it's just so crazy, to which we've now find ourselves not building ourselves correctly. And so what has happened is the pandemic has exposed how poorly we've been built as individuals. The Bible didn't say if the storm came, it says when the storm comes. And I think 2020 revealed a storm, and it revealed how poorly we were built. And now we have to decide, how are we going to build moving forward?
Absolutely. I love that. I love this comment in the chat box as we are sharing tonight. What are some of those things that we're noticing, even those things that we're dissatisfied with in this post-pandemic season? I love, it says burnout from not having a tech-savvy team to help, as I am called to live stream, pre-record, and create fresh content for several platforms on an ongoing basis. I am loving this conversation tonight. Hey, expect those zingers from Ricardo. It was really funny as you were saying that in the chat box. Someone said, "Yes, amen, Ricardo." I'm like, "Amen to the you don't like your family." Which one? We have fun here tonight, as well. You guys, yeah, we are here because we love life, okay? We love ministry, so we want to bring you back if you have steered from that. So, we're talking about these things. I'm thinking of, and Sherry, yeah, I know, me and Rachel, we kind of talked about this too. I'm thinking of the Great Resignation, right? We are in a season, because I want to know, what do you think is the main triggers? What is triggering all of this? I'm thinking about, I've been reading a lot about this Great Resignation and how, a lot of people are discovering, hey, maybe I don't like, maybe I don't love what I do. And they're using this as a season to reevaluate. I don't think I like this as much as I did before. And looking to do different things. We had a friend over just the other day, and he was like, "You know what? I've been in academia my entire life, and now I'm starting to reevaluate. Is this really worth it?" We have people in ministry who are going through this. Do I really love this? Is this really worth it? And they're considering walking away. What do you think is triggering? Do you think it's maybe the Great Resignation that's pushing that, and this break that they've had? Or Ricardo, you've already talked about some things of from not enjoying this, or realizing some things that we've been doing wrong for a long time. What do you think is triggering that? Sherry, I'm going to have you chime in on that.
Okay, so the Great Resignation is a real deal, not only in the business world, but especially in education. And I think what is driving so much of that is people are just tired of being in a hurry. And when they have time to stop, it's like, okay, is this really what I want to do? And so, one of those things that to add to your reading list, folks, but it's a really great book, and it's called Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And it's by John Mark Comer. And I love the fact that we, in this season, have the opportunity to decide, what is it that we really want to do in ministry? But see, the question really is more fundamental than that. It's, what is God wanting of me? And so many times what God wants and what we think he wants are two different things. So to stop and make sure that we're fundamentally even spending time with him and catching his direction first, I think that's why so many people are having this, this really abrupt stop, start, knee-jerk reaction, because we've been so busy trying to do good that we forgot that someone loves us so much and wants to fellowship with us and wants to hang out with us. And so I think that, for us to really fall in love with ministry again, we fall in love with Jesus first, and we do that by eliminating hurry.
I love that. Ricardo, what do you think?
I mean,
It's triggering all of this.
Eliminating hurry, boy. Some people, that's going to be the fight of That is such a good one, Sherry. I mean, we live in such a hurry world. I mean, there's just so much going on. And I think when everything stopped and you get a chance to think for a moment, and you start asking yourself, do I really want to do this? And there are some people, unfortunately, walking away from what they should be doing, but it's because they have been so badly misguided in their own way over time that they just figured, you know what? I just need to get back at the foot of the cross. I need to just get my heart right. I need, and in children's ministry, it's so easy to get lost in children's ministry. Yeah. You get in that back room and you just love kids, and then you see 2 or 3 kids at the altar on their knees expressing their true expression to God. And before you know it, you say, this is what I do ministry for. And then you forget that you still need to be poured into. You forget that you should be resting, that you should be paying attention to your family as well. And you just kept going. And big church don't care about children's church until there's a problem. And so by the time there's a problem emerge, you could find that you're in a bad place as a leader. And so for those of you that are watching, I think we need leaders who are going to decide I have to first take care of me in order to properly take care of the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's jump into that. Rachel, I'll let you kind of kick us off. I love how let's jump into self-care, right? Self-care is so important. And in ministry, I mean, let's be real. If we are to be real, we are to be honest. I have this argument with my husband all the time when it comes to self-care. There is this guilt trip, I think, that we put on ourselves of we are called to serve and to pour ourselves out as a drink offering, that a lot of times we neglect this important issue of self-care. And in the meanwhile, we're watching the news, we're hearing about senior pastors who are committing suicide because they are not from all types of issues. They're not handling those issues because they're trying to take care of the flock. Why is self-care? I'm playing devil's advocate here, because we say it's important, but why is it kind of seen as kind of like a bad thing? And why is it like a bad word in ministry to you, Rachel?
No, this is so good. I love talking about this because I do a lot of talking too on time management. And that's a big deal, especially when you're managing a ministry, is having effective time management. And that's one of the biggest things people talk about is like, well, I've got to be doing everything. I've got to do this and this and this. And I've got so many things. I don't have time to stop. So I'm just going to keep going. And my biggest thing back to that is, you actually have to give yourself permission to stop, because you're right. We feel like, and I'm guilty of this. Like, I actually had to go into my 5 steps and add in like another step to protect my time, protect myself and protect my time, because I'm one of those, you just get that feeling of guilt. Like, if I stop and rest for an hour, I'm feeling lazy and guilty that I'm not doing all these other things that are on the list. And it came to a point where I was getting burned out because I wouldn't let myself stop.
Yeah.
And so there comes a point where we absolutely have to protect ourselves and our time first, or we're not going to be able to give the best, because if we're not at our best, we can't give our best.
Yeah.
And the only way we can do that is by protecting ourselves and making sure we're allowing time to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves, because we absolutely have to be poured into, like you've all talked about. So making sure you're setting time aside to Sabbath and to really get alone with the Lord and really be ministered to by Him first. Because if He's not ministering to you personally on your own, then you have nothing to minister to others. So this absolutely has to be a priority.
Absolutely. I love that.
Can I plug in a little something along with that? Because it was so good. I want to say, Rachel, when we think about how the most progressive, healthy churches that are moving forward right now are the churches where the pastors themselves, the lead pastor, is trying to do it right. For him, his family, his health, and then the congregation. Well, unfortunately, in children's ministry, watch this, we know this, but we don't do this. Children, what do? They actually observe more than they hear. And in children's ministry, we as leaders, we specialize in saying, and unfortunately, we haven't been specializing in doing. And so we're actually hurting our children's department when our lives are a wreck, personally, because your life is more a message to children than your message.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm looking at the chat box. It says, we are a small church in Delaware, and even with us being small, we make sure we have a schedule and rotation to make sure our youth and children leaders are getting fed and still taking care of their own spiritual care. I love that. It is so important. Sherry, speak to us on this time in on this importance of self-care, or even with your own testimony when you had to learn, when there was time to pull back and to Sherry needs to take care of Sherry.
And I learned that the hard way. I mean, to be honest, God said, follow me to Tennessee. Ricardo was very instrumental in that transition time for me. He coached me very well through all that. I thought I was coming up here to immediately start work in a particular ministry, and then it didn't happen that way. God literally gave me a solid year of rest, and it didn't matter what I tried to do, and I did try. I'm going to go ahead and admit that. I mean, it was a season of time out. It was a season to rest, and in that process, I had to learn what self-care was all over again. I had to learn to pick up the Bible before I picked up my phone. I had to learn to really walk all over again. I was so burnt out and so tired that I wasn't even walking 500 steps a day last January. And yet in November, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I ran my first half marathon. So I feel like I have experienced burnout to the max. I have watched God do what he does all the time. He gives us justice and righteousness, and he reached down and he literally said, I'm going to validate you, I'm going to lift you up, and I'm going to restore you. But I need you to do this the right way. Self-care, those two words are not dirty words. We think it is because in our mind, Jesus was so loving and so serving, and yet we forget a very fundamental thing. And I just want to remind us as children's ministers tonight what that is. Jesus always went and separated himself. He had time with God. Keep in mind, Jesus is the one that rested in the middle of the storm. We can do this. And I believe that self-care has a lot to do about what Rachel said, our time management, but more importantly, giving ourselves a margin of time. Even this evening, so this is my third Zoom in 90 minutes, just because life worked out that way. And I thought I might be running late, even for the first one, but a little boy stopped me and he was like, I need you to finish reading me a story. And I thought, okay, I had built in 30 minutes before that first Zoom, which was a good thing. It took 15 minutes to drive and 10 minutes to finish that story for him. If we would just build in the margin of time, God is in the midst of the interruptions of our life. And I probably should stop right there, but I'm excited about time and self-care because I've seen it transform my life.
No, Sherry, I think that this is so important. Like I'm not ready to leave this self-care issue just quite yet, because I think we really struggle with it so bad in ministry. You guys speak to the person. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Speak to the person who really struggles with taking care of their self and just the repercussions of that. Because even I think when we go into ministry, and we've discussed this, we forget that it affects the way we operate in ministry when we're not taking care of self. Ricardo, can you speak to us for a second on the importance and just those dangerous repercussions when we pull back? And I'll say that, I just finished a challenge with Ricardo. I'll confess that I lost. It was a workout challenge that we had together on our Apple Watch. I was working so hard. But the whole point was self-care. We were challenging each other to take care of ourselves. It's not about just taking care of one area of your life. We want to be whole in every area. And Ricardo, I know that you are with Effective Living. This is a message that you teach, that you preach, that you inspire millions of people around the world on how to live life effectively. And the premise of that is learning to embrace self-care. So speak to the person who's feeling guilty right now when it comes to that.
Thank you, Esther. Two things. Just before I say those two things, it felt great when my thing says, Ricardo, you won an Esther lost. Come on.
You saved my life.
Hoorah, hoorah. But here's the deal. There's two things I want you to think about. And this is one of the things I've been teaching and talking to a lot of people about, and that is leadership and management. Personal leadership, personal management. And really, leadership is all about moving forward and knowing that you want to be good enough for yourself in the future. And so leadership is moving yourself forward to have a future. And so if you don't lead yourself well, you won't have a future well. So it's about knowing that I have to now set myself up to have a future. So I need to we lead our department. Come on. And we lead it well oftentimes, but we're not leading ourselves well to ensure that we have a future as much as our department has a future. And so I think leading ourselves well is one. And then secondly, you have to manage yourself well. Leading and management is two different things. Leaders move it forward, managers maintain and sustain. And so you got to learn how to manage yourself, sustain yourself well. And in both of those, you'll become the greatest message to those who are watching you, be it your workers, be it the kids, be it the parents. When you're leading yourself well and when you're managing yourself well. Ricardo, how do I do that in a practical sense? One, personally, you need a vision for you. And that vision needs to be built around where God is taking you, your family, and your faith walk with him.
Love that.
Okay, you can't get where there's no vision, the people perish, including children's ministry leaders. Okay, and management is the ability to carry all that he has called you to carry.
Yeah.
I have 5 kids. I got a husband. I got a children's department with a multi-campus responsibility with no assistant, and they want me to do virtual and they want me to management. Management, that's that side. So I got to lead and I have to manage. And so for the children's ministry leader who is listening to me tonight, I'm telling you, spend the rest of this year studying leadership and management for yourself. Oftentimes, when we pick up leadership and management books, we're picking it up for the department. We're picking it up for our ministry. How about picking it up for yourself?
That is so good. Picking it up for yourself. Ricardo, I love how you talked about having a vision for you, right? In children's ministry, we're taught, what is your vision for children's ministry? We're taught how to make that vision align with the pastor's vision. It is very rare that we hear, what is the vision for you?
Hey, the better you're doing, the better you're able to do for God. And that we have not taught that well. Okay, we have not taught that well, but the better you're doing, the better you'll be able to do for God. And so don't feel bad for having organized your life in a way to be able to do life well, because now God will be able to use you better because you're doing life well.
I love that. You guys, tell me about the danger. I'm gonna throw another curveball at you guys. The danger of putting on the face. And I'm just gonna say this because I am an expert at putting on the face in ministry. Maybe you're not whole or you're struggling or you're suffering. So we do that, right? We go out, we smile because we are called to be the leaders and to pour out into others. And we talked about that self-care aspect. Talk to us about the dangers of doing that. Why is that dangerous of making that? Because we can make that a practice, right? We make it a practice when me and Ricardo, we talked about this earlier. You sitting in your car and you crying because you don't want to go in because you're struggling and you're suffering. Then you take a deep breath, you put on the face, and then you go in. Why is that not a healthy practice to depend on that face? Rachel, what do you think about that?
I want to speak to that a little bit from a person who's been there, first of all. And I think, you get in this place where you absolutely love ministry and you love what you do, but for whatever reason, whether it's the burnout, whether it's hurt that you've experienced from the other people, whatever it is, that you get to that place of, you pull into the parking lot and you sit there, you purposely get there 5 minutes early because you need time to sit in your car and cry before you walk in the doors, right? To just get it all out. And then you walk in and just, hey, everybody, we're here, right? And I think it's very dangerous for you personally, but it's also dangerous for the people you're leading because you can't lead well if you're bleeding all over your team and you're bleeding all over your people that you're leading. And so you need to be leading from a place of health. And so it's very important not to pour out to those people, but to have somebody in your life who you trust, who you can talk to, who's going to speak truth to you, both when it hurts and when it's what you want to hear about. Like, right? You need somebody who's going to tell you what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear. And you need to be able to open and honest with them, but somebody who it's not going to hurt, who it's not going to take away from them being ministered to, right? Typically somebody outside of the church that you're at, so it doesn't affect their walk or their ministry. But having somebody that you can talk to, that you can be real with, because otherwise you're going to walk in there and then you're leading out of a place of hurt, and that's not good for anybody because you're not able to give your best and you're not able to be able to facilitate healing for other people who also need it because you're still in the same place of hurt. And so instead of coming alongside and saying, hey, let's go through this together, you're like, dude, I don't know what to do because I'm hurting so bad. I can't do this, And so we need to just have those people in our life that we can talk to who are going to encourage us, pray with us, walk with us along the way. But then we can go over here and be like, okay, God's got this. And then we can almost go into it with a little bit of transparency too, right? Like, not the bleed all over the teen, this is terrible, but that, hey, I know what it's like to be in this season. And I've got these people who are coming alongside and praying with me. Let me be one of those people for you. And we're able to take that and turn it around.
I love it. I love it. And it all goes back to self-care, right? Making sure we're taking care of us so we don't have to go in and put in the face, so that we are legitimately happy and we love our lives and we love our ministry. I love this comment. I love when you guys are so transparent in the chat box. We have a comment here that said, my dad pastored for over 50 years and impacted thousands, but he didn't model self-care well at all. He recently passed away, and I can't help but to think that he would still be here if he had taken care of himself physically. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love these conversations, you guys, because it's not even about us and the people who are on here, but just how we speak life, even in the chat box, and how we help together. We grow together and help to break others free of change. So I love the comments in the chat box. You guys keep them coming. We are here to grow together. We are here to go back on this journey of loving life, of taking care of ourselves, and getting back to the place to where we love ministry in a post-pandemic world. So you guys, I want to move the conversation on a little bit. We've been talking a lot about self-care. We want to take care of ourselves. That is vital, it's important, it's crucial. Now let's speak to ministry, maybe a little bit, if we can cross over to that. All right, because the reality is, right, life can be hard. And I love this. I love having you guys on here. I know that you all have experienced great loss. I know that you have experienced devastation in your life. And I'm like, oh man, they're going to speak so much life into us this evening. But how do you love life, right? So let me go here. I'm going to go here. How do we love life in spite of the challenges? Sherry, I want you to take us here on this one, because I know that there are people who are watching. I know that there are people who are going to watch this later. Okay, I get it. You're talking about self-care. This is important. I get it. Yeah, I hear this all the time. But when life happens and a huge transitions hit, how do you get past these moments in life and still? And I know all of you can speak on this, but how can we move past it and still get to that place to where we can get to a point of contentment in our own lives? Sherry, take us away with that one.
Okay, that's still in some ways pretty fresh. Perhaps my most recent loss was that of my spouse. It will be 3 years next month. And even yesterday, being Valentine's, I really kind of had to get a hold of myself for a little bit. And here's what I know about loss, whether it's the loss of a parent, a loss of a spouse, loss of a child, and all those things are extremely difficult. But we really just have to take it one moment at a time, one day at a time. And then, to be honest, I knew that Valentine's would be hard. I knew that this was going to be my second one without him. And we have choices to make in the midst of our transition, not only of loving ourselves, but how are we going to cope with life? And so, I deliberately made sure that I helped at a women's event Friday night, that I went to a fundraiser Saturday evening and a grandchild's basketball game. And I made sure that Sunday I was very present at church and was loving God and loving the people. And I think we have to be very systematic about what we will think on, because see, whatever we think about, that's exactly what we're going to have. So I could have said, it is not going to be a good Valentine's Day because Maxie is gone. Yeah. Or I could say, man, every day leading up to Valentine's Day, I'm going to pour into other people. I'm going to love people like Jesus. And it is going to be one of the best seasons of 2022. See, it matters what we allow ourselves to think about. And so I'm just going to get real. Most of children's ministers I know, part of the reason self-care and transition is difficult is because we haven't even really stopped long enough to say, I really do love me.
Mm.
God says he loves me. We're always looking at losing either that next 10 pounds or this next thing. And it's great to have goals and purposes, but living content in the moment is how we can move. We can know the truth and it sets us free. So I believe my admonishment, my encouragement right now for any children's minister, it doesn't matter what facet you're involved with. Would you just stop long enough to realize that you're okay, that you're on your way, that your thoughts really do matter, and that it is a process. And I just give you permission to have a lot of grace and mercy. With yourself and for yourself and for those around you. And if they get you, fine. And if they don't, that's all right. It's an audience of one. Let God approve you and leave the rest alone.
I love it. I love it because you all really display not perfect lives, right? It's not about perfection. You can still live life abundantly. You can still love life and love ministry and it not reflect an absolutely flawless, perfect life or a perfect story. Our stories are not perfect. And Ricardo, I know for you, and I mean, you've come out about this. You've had a whole series, about this and your divorce. And I remember you still doing ministry, in the midst of all of that. Talk about how did you get past that? I mean, I don't even know how to formulate the question or how, when you go through something that difficult and you still have to go in and do ministry, how did you get past that? Speak to that person who I know is going to watch this, who may be on here right now, who is struggling with a similar situation.
It was so simple in part, but so difficult to execute. And that was because my grandmother said it all along. And she said what the scripture said, and I would hear her say it, guard your heart with all diligence. Guard your heart, guard your heart. And the other thing that she would say a lot was, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. No season is forever. And if you guard your heart, when the better season come, you won't be damaged because of the past. So get through the difficult moment without being damaged in the difficult moment is super important. And I think when I was going through my most rough, let me tell you something. I was going through some moments. I remember going into a meeting, and this is a children's ministry meeting, and I walked past someone, and it was my worst day ever. Okay, I was like, I'm gonna say this, and this is children's ministry world. I was going through a rough time. Listen, I was scheduled to speak at MegaCon, and Sherry messaged me, and she said, "Hey, we're in the room. Where are you?" You remember that, Sherry?
I do.
You said, "Where are you, man?" I was going through the worst. I was on the side of the freeway saying, "Listen, I don't even know if I want to do life no more." And I was just having a bad day, and I called Ryan, and I said, "Man, I'm not gonna make it to your conference." And I don't know. I mean, it was that bad, right? And then the next day, I showed up at a meeting and I walked in and my whole life's falling apart. Everything is falling apart. I thought I had it all together and everything's falling apart. And I walk into a meeting and I was like, I shouldn't be here. And I walked in and somebody said, I can't believe he didn't say anything to me. What's going on with him today? Boy, ooh, I wanted to just, this is a good moment just... Right? But here's the deal. I remember praying in my car, God, help me to not be affected by what I'm going through. Help me to guard my heart in the process of it. So I kept my mouth, I kept prayed up, and I kept walking through it. And I remember one of my advisors saying, if you're going through, keep going. Don't stop in it. Don't waddle in it. Don't over-reflect in it. Just walk through it. And I kept walking through it. I kept walking through, and I found myself on the other side. Eventually, I found myself on the other side, and then I looked back and I said, truly, no bad season, no season is forever. First and foremost, no season is forever. If you're going through all good days, which at that particular time, I thought I was having the best life ever. Everything appeared to look good, and then the storm came. And when the storm came, clearly it was my marriage that got a hit. And I'm talking, I'm national, I'm global, I'm citywide, I'm a local pastor. And my marriage is going through a challenge that I did not see. And I said, God, why me? Right? Why me? And I had to pray through that to say, God, help me not to become so angry, because I'm ministering to kids all around the world. I'm ministering to families. I'm talking about, I thought I was a upfront guy when it came to family and home and all of that stuff. And I was losing my marriage. And so it was the hardest time of my life. But here's the deal. I'm so grateful that I didn't allow my heart to be infected by the experience, and I was able to walk through that. And so what I would say to anybody, the scripture says that we know it, guard your heart with all diligence. Life is going to send you a bump in the road that you don't get to determine what that bump is. In my case, it was divorce. Okay. In someone else's case, they go and they get a cancer report. Okay. The spouse died. The bank foreclosed on the house. I mean, you know, they repoed your car from the church parking lot. Okay. The church foreclosed and you lost your job and went home, and you lost your house because the church caused you to lose your job because the church foreclosed. I mean, it's just so much that can happen, that you have to guard your heart and remind yourself, this too shall pass. In addition to this too shall pass, this won't break me.
Yes.
Yeah. This won't break me. That should be like the tagline that we have as the title of tonight. Whatever you are going through, this will not break you. So good, Ricardo. I am like probably the worst moderator ever, because let me tell you something. These conversations, I be into them. I be having my pen and taking notes. I'm like, wait, where were we in this conversation? Because I am like, my mascara is like burning my eyeballs because I'm starting to tear up. But I know that you all will forgive me this evening. So now I want to talk about ministry. Because I know that there are people who are watching who are like, yes, Esther, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've been going through all of this. Speak to those people who are struggling with this concept. They are falling out of love with ministry. Is it possible? We talked about the Great Resignation. People are reevaluating what they want to do. Is it possible, if you're at this point, to go back, or is it a wrap? Rachel, I want to hear from you. Speak to us. Is it possible to go back? Speak to those people who are really struggling with, I do not love ministry. You know, we did the same time the memory came up last year. We had a children's ministry conversation on falling in love with children's ministry again, right? Because it happens. We need to fall in love again. Rachel, speak to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, it all starts with our passion for the Lord. It's his ministry. It's the calling he's given us. So let's go back to that. Let's go back to just completely falling in love with the Lord all over again, and just getting in, just getting back in relationship with him, and let that be our focus, and let that be our driver. I mean, especially in times like this with the like Ricardo mentioned earlier, we all had to learn all new talents. We had to learn how to live stream and how to plan all these new things and do ministry in a completely new way that no one had ever done before. And it was so much.
Yeah.
And it began to almost feel, I know to a lot of people I've talked to, like it just wasn't ministry, because it wasn't what we felt like ministry was before. Right. And so in all of these times and uncertain times and all of these things, what we know changes and how we know to do things changes, but God never changes. And if he's the one leading and guiding and directing us, and we can truly solely rely on him, he says that he'll mount us up on wings as eagles, right? We can run and not grow weary. We can walk and not faint. So let's completely let him be the one to carry us through this. And that all starts by going back to him. And absolutely, we can fall back in love with ministry. And it may look different, right? It may look different than the season was before, or the season you're in now. Maybe it's a new season even, but he can continue to use you and refresh you and rejuvenate you and just give you everything it is that he has planned for you and in store for you. His plans for you are to prosper you, not to harm you, right? Plans for a hope and a future. And none of that has changed. With everything else that's changing in the world, his plans are still good. And it's still his perfect plan for your life. And so just like both Ricardo and Sherry both mentioned, protect your heart, protect your mind, take every thought into captivity, and just get in the word and just say, God, protect me, protect my mind, protect my heart, but refresh and re-energize me and empower me to continue to accomplish this plan you have for my life.
Rachel, I love it. Sherry, I don't want to go back. Okay. I'm sick of these people. They've abandoned me. They're putting all this stuff on my plate. I'm done. I'm finished. Sherry, is it possible to go back?
Absolutely, emphatically, yes. And since my name starts with an S, I'm going to leave us with 3 S's. Stop swinging at stuff. You know, I mean, really and truly, the way we go back is we simplify. We simplify time and time again. You know, you don't have to do it all. I'm going to offer up this sacred cow, and it's going to offend some people, but just maybe get over it. You know, every church does, every children's ministry does not have to do VBS. Right. It's great that there are so many, but if that is wiping you out, if that's what causes you to dread your summer, talk to people, find out what it is that's really important about your children's ministry and how you can serve your families. And then start slicing and dicing that list. You know, no one is an expert at everything. So if we will simplify and do the key items, actually the church that I attend personally doesn't offer a VBS because so many people do in the area, but they know their top 3 things that they want to do. And I'm finding more and more that the churches that I work with, when they start taking it from, oh, we do these 15 things every year, and take it down to no more than 5, 3 to 5, and do those with excellence, all of a sudden you like yourself better, you like your life better, and you start falling in love with the very ministry that God called you to do. So stop swinging at the stuff and simplify, simplify, simplify.
I love it. I love it. Ricardo, chime in on this, because I'm exhausted. Can you chime in on going back? How do we go back? How do we fall in love again?
I don't think you should ever walk away from what you're called to do, because you'll find yourself sitting in the seat of regret. But what I think you should do is correct what you are not doing right that's causing you not to continue to do what you're called to do. And so I think you should correct. And I think for a lot of children's ministers, I want to talk about the 5 F's. So Sherry talked about the 3 S's. I want to go the 5 F's. Sherry, thank you so much. I was trying to figure out how can I bring my F into the whole situation, okay? And so I'm going to talk about this. Now is faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. Let me say it again. Faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. You want to manage your life so well that all 5 of those areas for you are really well. Okay? And so you're called to ministry, but your best ministry is you and your household first in faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. When you are learning to enjoy life, when you're learning to manage your body in a way to be able to carry the assignment of God on your life, let me tell you something, when your money is funny, your ministry is going to be limited, okay? All right? And then when your family is one way and you're the other way, you're not sending the right message to the people you're trying to have ministry with. And then last but not least, where are you with God and your walk, with your prayer time and your time on the altar and so forth? So I would say you don't want to go back. The reason why you don't want to go back is because you're not in a good place. You're not in a good place when it comes to the 5 F's. And what you need to do is, if you get these 5 F's back on track, you'll walk on your campus with a pep in your step, and they'll ask you, where did you get that from? It's because I'm good. And when I'm good, I can minister well. When I'm good, the children don't have to believe they can frustrate me, because, these kids are getting on my nerve. They're getting on your nerve because you're tired. They're getting on your nerve because you're broke. They're getting on your nerve because you ain't spending time with your husband or your wife. They're getting on your nerve because your kids got homework and they're in the car and you're in the supply room trying to cut up color paper for Sunday, because you're just all over the place.
Yeah.
Stop being all over the place and manage you well. Manage
Yes,
your faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun, and you'll find yourself walking in children's church, being a better example for your workers and a greater example for those kids who are watching you do faith well.
Sherry, you're going to chime in.
I feel like that just ties a real pretty bow on it. When Ricardo shared that,
Yeah.
Above all, there really is hope.
Yeah.
Just remember, God has said that He has a good plan for you, that there is hope, there is an expected outcome. Believe that that is true. Make the necessary adjustments for yourself. Set those parameters and guidelines because they're good. And as I'm sitting here looking at the screen, I just adore and love each one of you so much. And I would say this to any minister that's listening, especially those working with kids. Find your tribe. Find you a group of people that will love you for who you are, that you can call and say, now look here. It was fundamental to have a coach. If you need one, go after Ricardo. These gals, they are so inspirational. Pull what you need to from resources, whether you do it, live with someone or you're watching, the YouTube channels, but it matters. Have that sense of community. You're not alone. So make sure you're not believing a lie. And Esther, thanks so much for having me tonight.
Oh my goodness. I am loving all of this. Stop swinging at stuff, the 3 S's and the 5 F's, right? Faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. I love everything that you guys are sharing. I love this sense of wholeness, because when we activate these principles, they create wholeness in our own lives. And I'll say too, you guys, it is definitely something that I've learned in this season. And the enemy will convince you that you don't have time for this stuff. I don't have time to be focused on family right now. I got to do ministry. I don't have time. Finances, fitness, that's a huge one. I don't have time to take care of my body. Ricardo, what do you say all the time? When your body expires, your time is up, okay? I don't have time for this. I'm telling you, when you take time to do these important elements, they will create a sense of wholeness. And that is so true. You will go into children's ministry just to go in with a different spirit, right? Because you're content, because you're happy, because you are taking care of you. It is so important. Before we get out of here, you guys, listen. It is February. That means that January was last month, which means that we are still in this thing, okay? It is still enough time to claim the year and make it the best year yet, okay? We're not done yet. It is not October. I'd be a little nervous if it was November. I would say maybe you need to try next year, okay? But it's not. We're still in the beginning of this thing. I want you guys to just really speak some closing words of encouragement when it comes to loving life and loving ministry. Rachel, I'm going to have you go. Ricardo, I want you to go next. And then Sherry, I'm going to have you close us out.
All right. Well, I feel like, okay, we have the 3 S's from Jerry, the 5 F's from Ricardo. Now I feel like I have to throw something out with an R. So I'm going to give you 3 R's. Here's 3 R's. Okay. We got release, reach, and receive. But seriously, okay, release the regrets from last year. Release the regrets that you have from the past. Release the unrealistic expectations, the guilt of having to do everything all the time, nonstop. Release all of that. Let go of that. Reach for what's next. Reach for what God is showing you is still ahead, and receive His rest, receive His strength, receive His encouragement and refreshment, and just receive all of it is that God has for you, which we can't do if we're still holding on to the past and the regrets and the unrealistic expectations. So release all of that, reach for what's ahead, and receive what God has for you.
That's good.
Wow, that's so good. I love those 3 R's. That's awesome.
You don't want to be left out, y'all.
No, I have to do it.
I love it. I'm just going to say this, just know that it is possible to love life and love ministry. It is possible. And so I'm going to say this, according to your faith, be it done unto you. If you would just believe, you got to tell yourself it's possible. Now, it may be difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to have to fight for it, but it's possible. And if you would just believe, and then put in the work to see the manifestation of your belief coming to life, and tell yourself, if it's possible, I'm going to believe God to acquire what's possible. And it is possible. I want you to know you can love ministry and you can love life both at the same time.
Absolutely. Sherry.
Okay, so God and I just get real on these conversations, and
I love
when
it.
this process started for me, I was griping, not really at him, but I was certainly griping, and I'll never forget what happened during that particular prayer time. He's like, "If you don't like it, change it." And, I thought, oh, surely that wasn't God. Surely he would not talk to me quite that way. And I thought, yeah, but look at how I've just been talking. And then I realized it was true. And so I ran across a sign that said, she designed a life that she loved. And, I love that because there's times I put my hand over the S to where it reads, he designed a life that she loved. And he does. But we can enjoy the moments. We do that by building in that margin of time. And we haven't talked about it tonight, so I feel like we really need to close with this. I know as people in kids ministry, we think we're to blow and go all the time. But we really do owe God that Sabbath, and you owe it to yourself. So if you really want to make it in ministry for the long haul, and you want your relationship with God to be rocking, give that Sabbath. It doesn't have to happen on a particular day, but make sure you're practicing a Sabbath rest. And if there's something you really are not certain about, or you just can't tolerate very well, it's a divine design. Ask for a redesign. And remember, you really have more to do with that redesign than you think.
I love it. Thank you so much, you guys, for being with us tonight, for pouring out so much wisdom on all of us. I'm gonna leave us with those S's and those F's and those R's. I think that they are so important. Stop swinging at stuff. You guys, make faith, family, finances, fitness. Oh my goodness, fun a priority. Stop trying to make fun for kids and you're not having fun in your own life.
Ooh, preach.
Needs to be a priority. And I love, Rachel, what you left us with release, reach, and receive. Taking out that time, receiving that Sabbath rest, as Sherry has put it, with the Lord. You matter. Take care of you. I know that you guys have enjoyed this evening just as much as I have. Next month, we're going to dig even deeper into this. And I'm super excited because we have some amazing people coming on. And we're going to talk about pain. When you experience pain in children's ministry and in ministry in general, and how really to get through that is going to be an incredible time. Thank you for being with us tonight, Sherry, Rachel, Ricardo. Thank you for spending this time with us. We are so grateful. I see the chat box lighten up with thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you same time, same place, third Tuesday of every month, so that we can come together and grow together and go forth with just a spirit of excellence in ministry. We will see you guys next time.